Welcome to Elevate Springfield, where we will dive into strategies and stories that help you rise to your full potential. Each episode, we'll talk about how you can take intentional steps to elevate your life and your business while making a meaningful impact on those around you. Along the way, we're going to bring in the change makers from our community that are already elevating. We'll bring the actionable strategies, you bring the discipline and follow through, and together we can elevate Springfield.
All right, let's go, Springfield. Time to 10x your life, your business, all of it. Time to crush those goals. Time to get after it. Let's go. You are listening to the Elevate Springfield podcast. Robert Farrell here, certified 10X coach, speaker, and mentor, here to bring you actionable strategies. You bring the discipline and follow through, and together we're going to elevate Springfield. We're coming to you again from beautiful downtown Springfield in the Big Dog Construction Studio. Hey, we've got so much going on in Springfield right now. Make sure you are participating. Get out there, network with folks, be a part of the community, support local businesses, support local nonprofits, and let's go. We can all grow together. So, hey, another great episode for you today. We're going to get right to our guest after the break. Hey, Springfield, when it comes to reliable, high-quality roofing, you don't want to leave things to chance. That's why you should reach out to Acosta Angeli Roofing, your local roofing expert, serving Springfield and surrounding communities. From quick, dependable repairs to full replacement, from residential to commercial, they are your trusted pros. Call them today at 217-993-2748 or visit their website to book your free quote and inspection. Don't wait. A little leak now could lead to major damage later. Trust the local experts, protect your home, and get peace of mind with Acosta Angeli Roofing. And we are back. Joining me in the studio now, Dennis Bringuet. You probably know him from Ace Sign Company, Faux Glass, or any number of things in the Springfield area. He's been a staple in the community for quite a while. Dennis, welcome, and thanks for popping in today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, looking forward to going and talking about some of the history of Ace. And I know you guys have a really cool sign museum there that really has a lot of local business history in it too. I want to talk about all that. But before we do that, let's just learn a little bit about Dennis. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I was born and raised in Springfield, and been very fortunate to be involved in the community and the family business for many years, and really blessed to have a good family. That is so important. And my wife and my two sons and my nephew and all are running the business now. Kathy keeps me busy at home.
There you go. What high school did you go to here?
Springfield High.
Springfield High. There we go.
Class of 72.
Okay.
And I turned 72. So most everybody in the class graduated in 72, and they're 72. So
now, yeah.
I think we need to have a birthday party.
Hey, there you go. That works. That's pretty cool. All the work they're doing on the side. You've seen the new logo and everything with all the inlaid brick and everything there. That's pretty cool.
I haven't been inside there yet, but it's amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. With Ace Sign Company, of course, everybody in Springfield knows about Ace Sign Company. Who started Ace? Let's go a little bit of the history of Ace Sign.
Okay, well, my grandfather started in 1940, but kind of an interesting history. He got out of school in the 8th grade, graduated from 8th grade, and then he went to work for his uncle and father who were in the Warren sign system. And that was a very large sign company, and he worked for them for 21 years.
Okay.
And then along came this thing called the Great Depression, and he didn't get paid for 2 years. So he had to do something to feed the family.
Sure.
So he started the Ace Sign Company in his garage, in his backyard, over on South Spring Street.
Okay.
And so it has grown from that, and we're again very blessed to have family and employees and customers that have made it grow.
Early on, those days in the backyard, what were some of the things he was doing?
Well, that was back when everything was done painted with a brush, so banners, truck lettering, signs for buildings, everything you could do. And at that point, he didn't have a crane truck for a few years before he moved to Springfield downtown. So the downtown location started in the couple of years after he started in the garage.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the first storefront was over where Isringhausen is on 2nd Street.
Oh, okay.
And then moved to 4th Street, 400 block North 4th. And they moved there the year I was born. And then we were there for 60 years.
Mm.
I remember sweeping floors there when I was 13 years old.
Wow.
And just grew up in it and osmosis. And then when I was 15, I had to get a permit from the government, to work there.
Right.
So I had the pleasure of working with my grandparents and my parents at the same time. So, and then when Grandma and Grandpa Horn passed away, then, I was working with Mom and Dad, and my sister got involved in the business as well. And so, I've been fortunate. Now my 2 sons are running it, and I'm retired.
Right.
I still go in every day.
Oh, yeah. I see you in there most times I go there.
I don't go in at 6:30 anymore. I go in about 9:30.
Right. There you go.
And the museum tours are very popular now. A lot of Route 66 visitors with the 100th anniversary of Route 66.
Yeah.
And we have, last week we had 3 different bus loads of about 40 or 50 people.
Oh, wow. No, it's going to be a big year for you on that side of things. Yeah. So the 4th Street location there for 60 years, just for anybody that's not quite aware of everything around downtown, where are you at there on 4th Street?
We're right next door to the Washington Street Mission.
Okay. Right.
Building is still there, available.
There you go.
But so not sure what we're going to do with it.
Yeah. So when he moved into that building, how did the business change? I would imagine they're able to do larger things, have more employees coming in there.
Yes. They were able to grow. And then in the 80s and 90s, I was able to, when I was more involved with as president of the company, we expanded it, added on to the building, added on to parking. So we were able to grow, but then we kind of grew out of it. So we were fortunate to be able to get the old Sears warehouse, and that worked out well.
Yeah. So why'd you choose the Sears warehouse? What was the thought process? Like, hey, we're going to move out of the downtown area. Well, you're still close to downtown. You're down the street a little bit, but we're going to move to this old Sears warehouse.
Well, we actually had been looking for a new location because we had, again, grown out of the current one on 4th Street. And so we knew we were needing a bigger place. And then our bank, the INB Bank, had that particular building that was in repossession. It was sitting vacant for 3 years, and the bank owned it, and they were anxious to get rid of it.
I bet, yeah.
So we were able to work out a deal with them, and there we are.
There you go. What kind of services were added when you had additional space? What changed in the business there? Just being able to do more, or did you add services?
About 20 years ago, well, let me back up a little bit. When my grandfather was running the business, of course, you drive down Main Street, it was locally owned mom and pop stores. That's the way it was, and it was great. Now you drive down Main Street, there's a few franchises. And so I could see that trend was growing a little bit. So we kind of dipped our toe in the franchise world to also work with the local businesses. And so that allowed us to grow. We've got about 10 to 12 franchises that are relatively small franchises. They keep us busy along with all the local folks that we love to work with.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, I think people would be surprised the reach of a sign company in terms of, you work with those franchises, so you're sending stuff all over the place, but then all the different clients that you have that are everywhere. You guys have a pretty significant reach right here from Springfield, Illinois. Yeah,
we do. And, it's kind of funny because a lot of people, they go, well, what franchises? And most people have never heard of most of them. Apricot Lane, Ladies Apparel.
Oh, yeah.
Relatively small franchises, but by definition is kind of confusing because they have 850 locations.
Right.
But what we like about them is they're growing at about 6 to 8 a year. And so that helps us in addition to local stuff to grow. And then recently we're working with Wally's gas station.
Oh, yeah.
Doing one in Indiana right now. And that's a nice client.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. Like you said, by definition, 850 locations may be considered a small franchise. But to most people thinking about that are outside of that, hey, that's seems pretty large to
That
me.
works, yes. Absolutely.
Now, I would imagine Wally's is growing significantly, right
Yeah.
alongside Bucky's probably. You know, they
Exactly.
kind of
Yeah. That's the same concept. Yeah.
yeah, they've become a pretty big thing.
They have. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so you mentioned your past starting out and you pushing a broom at 13 and all this stuff. When did you take over as president of the company?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say it was in the early 80s. Yeah. I worked there for about 50 years is how long I worked there. And technology has really changed our industry. Like I said, I was painting signs with a brush by hand, which makes me a dinosaur. And so again, I go in and there's a few customers that maybe don't know I'm retired, so they may call me, and then I'm happy to pass them off to someone who can help them more.
Sure.
And have a little transition.
Yeah, absolutely. When's the last time you did a hand-painted sign or any kind of hand-painted anything?
Let's see. I did a race car for a gentleman. It was a 1930 race car, and he wanted it done by hand, so I brushed that. Then I also did a little Route 66 sign for it's kind of interesting, a commercial that was on the Super Bowl for Google. And they were doing a program called 50 on 50. It was, a sign company was selected to be one of this companies that represented Illinois for Google.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that was quite an opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember talking to Todd about that when that happened. That is an awesome opportunity. I mean, 50 in the state of Illinois, chosen by Google. That's awesome.
Absolutely, it was free.
Yeah, there you go. Can't beat that. So you did the big Lincoln head at CWLP too, didn't you?
Yeah, sure did. Yeah, that was a nice project, 140 feet in the air.
Obviously, you're not afraid of heights or anything.
Well, that was kind of interesting because, my parents were still both living at the time, and we had lunch together every day. And Mom says, "There's something I want to talk to you about." And I went, "Oh, that's always kind of trouble. It's like, well, what's wrong?" And she says, "Well, Dad and I don't think that you should be up 140 foot in the air, lettering on that." And I said, "Well, Dad, you remember when we used to be on a walkboard? It was like 12 inches wide, and we'd be up 30, 40 feet lettering the side of a tavern with a beer sign, by hand with a brush."
Sure.
I said, we had no harnesses or anything,
Right.
And I said, "We're going to be on a platform that's 5 foot by 10 foot, and we're going to have harnesses on, and the rope goes up over the power plant, so we couldn't fall if we wanted to."
Right.
So they were okay.
Yeah, a little more safe nowadays.
That's
I
right.
guess.
That's right. Exactly.
So how do you plan for something like that, something that large? I mean, I'm just picturing myself up there. The scale of it, you're right up next to it. How do you get that to look great from a mile away when you're right up close to? How does that process work?
Well, on that particular project, of course, the first step is taking a high quality photograph and then putting it to scale, and then doing a scale drawing of it to show what the end result will look like. And then after it's approved by the client, then we will make, in that particular case, it was a corrugated building, corrugated metal. And so we actually made a paper patterns in 4 foot wide rolls of paper. So there was probably 8 or 10 different 4 foot sections. And we would roll that out. As we were rolling it out and pouncing it, it's called a pounce pattern. It's a perforated material, paper. And you take a bag of charcoal and you pounce it on, and the charcoal goes through the perforations and onto the building. That was the process.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
cool. And when did you do that? How long's that been up there?
That's a good question.
Been up there a little bit now.
Yeah, I'd say it was probably 8 or 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Still looks great.
What you can see of it now, it's got a little something in front of it now that was added there.
Yeah.
That was a little disappointing.
Right.
Oh well.
Right. So you mentioned the sign museum there at ACE at the old Sears warehouse at your location now. If anybody hasn't seen that, it's absolutely awesome. So tell us a little bit about the sign museum there.
Well, we like for the history of some of our customers to live on.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes businesses go out of business, and they want their history to live on as well. So they will donate their sign to the sign museum. And we'll make room for it and hang it up. Now, if a business is only in business for a few years, maybe that's not the best candidate. But, we've got a lot of businesses like Paris Cleaners was in business for 110 years. So when they went out of business, Mrs. Frankie wanted us to have a neon sign that we had made for them years ago. And so that's just an example. And then Mr. Bob Bunn, actually, just a few weeks ago, well, maybe a month ago, he actually called and see if we wanted a sign that they had from the Capital City Paper Company, which now we're going back 100 years on some of these when they started. So we were more than happy to display that.
Of course.
But really, it's about memories, and particularly for local people and people that are maybe over 50 years old, they recognize a lot of those, like the Hub Clothiers. It was downtown. And so it's all about memories.
You've got the big giant, spells out watch. Illinois Watch Company.
Illinois Watch Company started in 1870, and they sold to Hamilton Watch Company in 1920. And then there's a transition period of 2 or 3 years. So they formed a new company. Some of the local investors, a lot of it was the Bunn family as well, started the Sangamo Electric Company. And Sangamo Electric, of course, they made over 2 million meters for measuring electricity on homes and businesses in Springfield. So they employed 1,200 people.
Wow. Okay.
And they grew to become the world's largest maker of wristwatches and pocket watches for railroads.
Okay.
And pocket watches for railroads are very important to be accurate, or you'd have trains running into each other.
Yeah. Don't want that.
No.
I bet those are probably collector's pieces by now, if they're still out there, right?
Yes.
So I know I was talking to Brian from Sangamon Watches downstairs, and he said he was a collector of Illinois Watch stuff. And I said, well, have you been out to a sign yet? They've got this really cool. He said, no, I haven't. Well, might want to go check that out.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So much cool history there. Any other ones that are maybe your favorites or have a really interesting history to them?
There's an awful lot of them. We do have a Lincoln cab that's there. That's they started in business in 1933. The Antonacci family started, and they still own and operate the cab company. And the cab we've got there is actually hand lettered by my grandfather. So we liked that.
That's so cool. We've done a few events at the museum there, and that's always a good picture spot. People like to have that in the, in the background of their picture.
Yeah. And then also I like the fact that, well, you've heard of Andrew Carnegie. Okay. Yeah. Andrew Carnegie, in his later years, he wanted to give back, and he funded 1,700 libraries to be built in the United States, 4,200 worldwide. And we had one in Springfield, and built in 1902. And then it got replaced with a new library in 1973. But we have a stone that was above the front door entrance, and the Historical Society in Springfield was kind enough to ask us if we wanted to display it. It had been in storage at the State Fairgrounds for over 50 years.
Oh, wow.
Kind of got forgotten about.
Yeah.
And so that has a nice story. It's 6,000 pounds, all hand-carved limestone. And then up above it, we have a projection area and a sound system where we have a lot of not-for-profit organizations that do fundraisers, mostly trivia nights.
Yeah.
And that's very popular.
Works out perfect for that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Carnegie, I'm thinking the scale at 4,200, funding 4,200 libraries worldwide.
Yeah.
And
you know why he wanted to give back to libraries?
Why is that?
Well, as he was growing up, he did not go to school. He got all of his education by going to a library and reading books.
Ah, okay.
And so later in his life, he wanted other children and people to be able to educate themselves in the same manner.
Okay. I didn't realize that. I knew he funded a ton of libraries, but I didn't realize that was the reason behind it.
Yes. Now, the one in Springfield, all of his libraries were named Carnegie Libraries, except the one in Springfield, Illinois.
Really?
Mr. Carnegie thought it would be insulting to not name it after Abraham Lincoln. So it was named Lincoln Library. We all knew it as.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah. I didn't realize that either.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. No, that'd be the only one out of all those to be named something different.
Right. Absolutely.
Why is it important to preserve some of those signs and just some of that history of Springfield and beyond here.
I think it's important that everyone recognizes some of the past and learns from it, and learns that you can have successful businesses in Springfield if you work hard and work intelligently. And I think it's inspiration to other startup businesses that look what they did. So you can do the same thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, you do have a lot of neons in there.
Yes.
When did you guys first start making neon signs?
Well, neon signs were first started in 1920. And then when my grandfather got into the sign business on his own, he did not do neon when he was in his garage. But then when he went to his first storefront, they started doing neon. And that was in about 1942, in that range.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was kind of the first. Yeah.
So was that ever, the hand painting was one of your specialties? Was the neon ever one of your specialties, or was that somebody else?
No, we had other folks to do that. It was like a lot of things where it takes a lot of time, a lot of practice to really master that. Now my nephew is doing it for us now.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys still create neon signs?
Oh yes. Yeah. We have a shop down the street about a half a block, and across the street there in a small building. That's where we do it all.
That's awesome. One thing I always loved that Ace did was the theater marquee restoration. That was always one of my favorites. Those are so cool. I mean, because I like the history and the architecture, and then bringing something like that back to life is just amazing to me.
Yeah, we've done 5 or 6 of those.
Yeah.
And in fact, my son Scott was just telling me yesterday we've got 2 more coming up.
Nice.
So,
That's awesome. What brought those on? You just decided you wanted to do those, or some people start asking?
People actually reach out to us on those things because it's such a unique thing where there's not many sign companies that do neon and sheet metal work. There's a lot of work that goes into a marquee, and it's so unique that there's probably only a half a dozen or so other sign companies in the country that, that will do that type of work. So it's a real niche.
That's awesome.
Yeah. There's Panama City, Florida. We did one there. Martin Theater. We recreated one that was damaged or destroyed, I should say, by a hurricane.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
do you have any all-time favorite projects over the years? You're at it a long time. Do you have any that you look back like, man, that one was really great. That one was awesome.
Yeah, there's probably one every year that wins that prize, and I don't know if there's any one that stands out any more than any others. But the one you mentioned about the power plant, that was a fun project.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah,
I bet. Well, one other thing that's keeping you busy too, you say you're retired, but you've got faux glass going on too.
Yeah.
So tell everybody about that.
Well, actually the sign business is all about visual communications. And so I guess it's just in my heart and brain that, it's everything can be improved. When I look at a garage door, I think, well, it sure looked better if it had windows. The ones that don't have windows, I think it looks nicer if we have windows. So I just came up with the idea of cutting black plexiglass and putting magnetic material on it, which we've used plexiglass in the sign business for years and years.
Of course, yeah.
So that's what we did on a garage that we had, and the neighbors liked it, and it just kind of expanded, and we've got about 140 of them right now in Central Illinois. So we're hoping to expand it beyond that a little bit.
Nice.
Yeah.
And they can go on any garage door. I mean,
right.
Simple, right?
And the other thing is, with the 250th anniversary coming up, I've got magnetic flags.
Oh, cool.
That are pretty cool.
Yeah. So those are going to be pretty popular.
There's 7 different holidays.
Yeah.
4th of July and Memorial Day. And
that's interesting. Yeah. You can just swap it. People like to swap that stuff out.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you can store them on the inside of the garage door when they're not on the outside.
Right.
So
there you go.
That'll be kind of fun.
The faux glass holiday pack. Get buy the whole thing.
There you go.
I like it.
Actually, if someone does the windows, it's kind of a lost leader. The flags are only $75, but if someone wants to have their windows put up as well, give them a discount.
Yeah,
really. Yeah,
absolutely. They're on my door. They have been for quite a while now.
Yes,
so, yeah.
thank you. You were one of the early customers.
Yeah, I was. Yeah. No, they're great. They're great. Our garage door didn't have any windows on it, and I always, like you said, I I think it looks better when they have the windows, whether they're the real windows or the faux glass, they look better.
Well, and a lot of people don't like the real windows because they don't want people looking into the
Yeah.
garage. So
Mhm.
a little more privacy with a faux glass.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we move over to some maybe the associations and organizations and stuff you've been in, any advice for entrepreneurs out there, business owners, maybe on the front end of their journey? They're, a couple of years in. You guys are many, 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 many more years than that. So any advice on longevity in business that you guys have learned at
Well,
ACE?
I think it's important for a business person to also give back to the community. Getting involved in Chamber of Commerce and customer service groups, or a lot of civic groups. I think that's important, and networking to meet other people. That's real important.
Okay.
That's what we did. My grandfather and my father were active in the Rotary.
Mm-hmm.
I was active in the Springfield JCs at the time, and then got on the board for the Chamber of Commerce,
Mm-hmm.
and was able to meet a lot of people that had mutual interest in downtown. I was one of the founders of the Downtown Springfield Inc.
Yeah.
And then through some connections there and people like Carolyn Oxtoby, we were successful at starting the Hoagland Center for the Arts.
Give us a little the history of those two things: the start of DSI and then the Hoagland.
Well, DSI kind of came from when we were active, and I was on the board for the chamber. And the chamber was interested. In fact, their office was down on the square at that time. And some of the people on their staff were interested. Of course, that was about the time that White Oaks Mall started. Sure. And there was a lot of businesses that were downtown that were hit by that. And some of them moved out to the mall. So we thought it was something that was important to help the downtown grow and survive. And so we actually, the first business or the first name for that was an acronym called PRIDE. It was Positive Results in a Downtown Effort. And that organization was going for a couple of years. And then there was another organization that was a retail group back when Roberts Brothers and Myers Brothers and all were around. And then they kind of disbanded. So we said, well, let's kind of combine the two and make it retail as well. So that's when we started Downtown Springfield. And Kent Massey and myself were a couple of the ones that got it started. And so.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How long were you highly involved there at the beginning part of it?
Well, let's see. The first president was Carolyn Oxtoby. And then Mike Houston and myself and Steve Myers. So then after I had served as president, that's an opportunity came up to buy the Hoagland building.
Mm-hmm.
And so Carolyn Oxtoby and her brother, Steve Bartoff, I remember picking up Carolyn one evening and going to brother's house and picking up a check for, I think it was $375,000 to buy the building.
Uh-huh.
And of course, that was just the start. It took about $8 million to renovate
Oh,
it.
I bet.
That's
Yeah.
okay. It all worked out. Hoagland family helped make that possible and hundreds and hundreds of people and made it possible to make that financing work. There's a plaque that's in the lobby of the Hoagland that has the name of all the donors.
Okay.
And a lot of people.
Oh, I bet. So what was some of the thought process early on with starting the Hoagland? I just don't really know much of the history.
Yeah. There was the Arts Council, a lady by the name of Kay Fuhrer was executive director of that for many, many years. And then she had the idea that there should be an art center downtown. And so they explored several different buildings, and the one that they liked the most was where
Masons,
thank
right?
you, the Masons. Thank
Yeah.
you. The only problem was that the building wasn't for sale, but they really thought that would be the ideal one. So then probably 10 years later, a friend of mine from high school called and said that he knew I was president of Downtown Springfield Inc. at the time, and he says, well, our building's for sale now. And I said, well, don't sell it yet. So I was able to put together a group, Tom Appleton and Tom Frost and myself, and formed the first, and Carolyn Oxtoby, of course. We were able to put it together, and we got 12 different arts organizations from that used to be operated out of their garage or their a lot of different, church basements or
Yeah.
whatever. And so by bringing them all together, it allowed it to grow and make it a success that it is today. And of course, Gus Gordon is doing a fantastic job as a director.
Become an institution here.
Absolutely. Yes.
Any other organizations, associations that you've been highly involved in over the years?
Well, there's a sign association. It's a national sign association that I was active and would go to a lot of meetings for that. Keep up with the latest and greatest innovations in the sign industry. So
Sure.
now Todd's going to those meetings.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So with Route 66 this year and everything, you said it's filling up the museum a lot. Ace created the cool exhibit out at the fairgrounds and everything. You doing anything else with the anniversary of Route 66?
Well, yeah, we're constantly doing something. There's in fact, just a couple of weeks ago, there was an RV that the organization, the Route 66 Scenic Byway, wanted that done. Casey and of course Scott Dahl is doing a fantastic job. And we did all the graphics. It's like a wrap on it and a truck that's pulling it, and it has a map of the whole state and all the different stops. So they just put that on the road and are having fun with it and traveling through the entire state of Illinois. Yeah. And so that's working out nice. And they might be repainting the giant slide out the fairground. I hand lettered that about 3 or 4 years ago, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, that was fun.
No, very cool. So what are some ways you feel like over the years you guys have elevated the client experience?
Well, it's interesting because every customer we have, we realize and they realize that the sign is very important to their existence and bringing in customers. And we feel like we can provide them services and provide them the ability to bring in those customers. Now, if it's an architect's office that is not on a busy street, they may not need a huge sign. But if there's some place where there's high traffic count and they rely on bringing people in, they need a little bit more pizzazz.
Absolutely.
So being able to help them with that service is, I think, very important to their existence. And they seem to appreciate it.
No doubt about it. I love the history of you guys' company. It's really cool how you guys blend you guys are very cutting edge in the things you do, but also keep the history in mind, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, it's important. And people that come in, like last week, we had 3 different bus loads of people, and one was from Texas, one was Kansas, and actually a few days before that, we had a husband and wife that were from France. So I showed them the neon sign from Paris Cleaners. Told them we made that because they were coming.
Right, knew they were coming, so we got that up for them. I mean, how cool is that, though? I think a lot of people don't realize the tourism that we do have here, and you see a lot of that hands-on when they come and check out the sign museum.
Yeah, and it goes back to many years ago. My wife and I were with a group of folks from Springfield, and Mike Houston was mayor, and went to Hong Kong. Fred Polio was director of tourism at the time. And we were in Hong Kong. This was the same year that China took it back over, but there were not many changes yet. It was the old Hong Kong. And we were waiting to get onto a cable car, and we were looking at some displays, and there it is. It has a map of the United States, and it had Route 66. And it showed the whole thing, and there's Springfield, Illinois. On there. So it was kind of a wake-up call for me to say, I didn't realize Route 66 was worldwide attention, and so the people really do like it.
They do. People from all over the place come to see.
They do.
That's awesome. Well, Dennis, anything you do to elevate your life personally?
Well, I feel that faith, family, and friends are important. And so that's always a thing that we focus on and make sure that's a high priority.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Dennis, so much great stuff today. I always like to close with these last couple of things. Let's give the audience a piece of advice, one on the personal side, one on the professional side, to help folks elevate their life or business.
Well, faith, family, and friends.
Yeah,
I recommend that. Getting involved in some networking like the Chamber of Commerce or the many different organizations that are out there so you can meet other people. And then I think that helps a business. And if they focus on in their business the fact that people want good customer service, and that's very important. Putting in the hours, it does take hours.
That's right.
It takes a lot of time.
Can't get around the work. You gotta put in the work.
No 8-hour days.
Exactly.
I always kid my boys. I say, you're only working half days. And they go, what do you mean? I said, well, there's 24 hours in a day. You're only working 12.
Right. Yeah, what's that about? Right.
They don't see the humor in that.
Right. Well, and is there anything we can do community-wide to help all of us here elevate Springfield and the surrounding communities?
Well, I think buying local is extremely important. I think there's a great need for that. And I think that, again, when you buy local, you're going to local businesses that keep all of that money in Springfield.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd recommend that.
Absolutely. Well, Dennis, appreciate you coming by today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, fun hearing about the history of ACE and the history of all the other things that we talked about. Just a wealth of knowledge over here with Springfield business history. I love it.
Thank you for having me.
So if anybody wants to check out Faux Glass or ACE Sign, where could they go and do that?
Well, they're welcome to come to ACE Sign, and I'll be happy to give them a tour of the Sign Museum, and or they can call me at my cell phone, area code 217-816-6247.
There you go.
For the Faux Glass.
There you go. Yeah, highly recommended. Get yourself a set of them like I have.
There you go. Thank you.
Well, Dennis, appreciate it as always.
All right, Robert. Take care.
Well, we're going to let Dennis get back to elevating Springfield, but for the rest of y'all, we'll be right back.
Looking for expert tree care with hometown integrity? Look no further than Sangamon Tree Service. They're your trusted local pros, delivering quality workmanship, exceptional customer service, and fair, honest pricing every time. Whether it's trimming, removal, or storm cleanup, their team brings professionalism and care to every job, big or small. Call the name your neighbors trust, Sangamon Tree Service, or visit them today at sangamontreeservice.com. Sangamon Tree Service, rooted in quality, built on trust. Looking for personalized insurance with hometown care? David Hist, American Family Insurance Agent, is here to help you protect what matters most, your family, your home, and your dreams. Whether it's auto, home, life, business, David and his team are proud to serve the Springfield community with trusted advice and reliable coverage. Local service, real relationships, peace of mind. Call today or stop by their office. They can build your dream protection plan together. Call 217-726-6343.
Well, thank you for joining us today, everybody. Appreciate you making us a part of your day. Hey, don't forget, while you're out on social, check ours out. You can check my personal one out at Robert Farrell at everywhere. Check out those Elevate Springfield pages, those Big Dog Business Coaching pages as well. Check us out over on YouTube. Give us a subscribe, give us a like or a follow on any of those channels. We would certainly appreciate it. So, hey, take what you learned today. You bring the discipline and follow through, and together, that's right, y'all, we're going to elevate Springfield. Be great.
When I first walked into Shudokan Karate Club, I was just looking for a way to get stronger, but what I found was so much more. Here we train in traditional karate, the real stuff, passed down through generations. Every punch, every kata has purpose. I've learned self-discipline, confidence, and how to protect myself. Not just in class, but in real life. It's not about being aggressive, it's about being prepared. This is more than a club, it's a way of life. Join us at Shudokan, traditional, powerful, real. Ki-ai!